Yes, please.
Just got a question which I was going to ask Colin, actually. I think you can all hear me.
Colin, do you want to come and join us? There's actually a seat for you up here. Thanks, buddy.
It's an open question for the panel, though, so I'm interested in comments. Regarding your point one, Robbie, we're very, very consumer orientated with our brand, and we want to do more consumer research in China, both around our brand and also just around our whole sort of web and social media strategy as we develop that. Our partner on the ground there, our distribution partner, is ASC Fine Wines, who came up earlier in Conrad's presentation. And a lot of the time, the feedback they give us when we say, well, we want to do consumer research, is they say, well, we don't believe in it, because you just get told what the consumer thinks you want to hear. So we don't think it's particularly valid. And I can understand that, but equally, there's got to be a way through that. And so I was just interested in comments addressing that, so that then I can actually pass that on to ASC and try and get some outcomes that we can agree on that can work and give us valuable feedback.
I think there's 2 points there. The first is China, like any market, you have that question over, are people really saying what they think, or are they saying what they think is the correct answer? Our view is always some information is better than no information. So that's the first thing. The second thing, if you really think that you're getting bias in your research, then the way to go about it is to use tools called ethnographic research, contextual inquiry. So instead of just sitting with somebody and asking them, how do you do this, what's your favorite website, etc., make them walk you through it. Sit with them in the context the way they normally do it. So if they're normally buying at home, sit at home. If they're normally doing their shopping at work on Taobao after lunch, okay, that might be a bit tricky, but that's where you should be doing it. And you say, show me how you shop, show me how you browse. And you get a much clearer picture like that. In terms of companies that do it over in China, I don't know any off the top of my head other than Frog, who are very, very leading edge in this sort of thing.
Okay. With regards to your point, if it's on your distributor, I don't mind telling you that your distributor or 经销商 is probably the biggest challenge to any retail or e-commerce strategy. They don't want you to sell on e-commerce. They want you to sell through them. And one way to keep you subservient to their wants is to make you as blind as possible to consumers. So the thing is, even if they can't give you the data, you still have to do social media listening through CIC or Digital Jungle. Or if you want to have a more in-depth type of polling type of research, you can approach ChinaPolling.com. They do focus group studies among different forums where people talk about niche topics. And last but not least, you can also check with magazines that deal with your particular demographics and ask them for insights on consumers. They're more than happy to provide those data, because you might be someone that wants to take our ad there.
Thank you.
Actually, the question first, so question for Castro. You spoke a lot about consumer engagement, but when I was listening, it was fascinating and interesting. I just had a question about, I live in Beijing and, work in the China market for a long time. One of the questions that I have in mind, with the examples of given, I was thinking about, maybe the floor will also be interested in knowing how do we view loyalty. This is actually part of your presentation topic, and I feel like you did not touch on too much, so I wanted to ask more about that. So like, when you start to engage them and you get interest for your brand, and you talk a lot about brand preference, right? So, and how do you sustain? Because I think one thing is very challenging always in China is people move very fast in the market and they change their mind very fast. Maybe at this moment they'll be buying Adidas. Next moment Nike is doing something great, something new, or they're promoting the brand and then with the price discount, whatever, they switch right away. So a lot of people talk about the loyalty level being very low in China, even with brands. So what's your point of view on just interest?
Okay. My point of view is you need to drive brand preference because there's no such thing as brand loyalty in China. And brand preference is very much dependent on the social occasions that your brands capitalize on with regarding to their campaigns. For example, I helped Dove Chocolate's own Chinese Valentine's Day for 2011, but immediately after that day, interest in the brand drops. So the thing is, what I'm trying to do is, there's no way I can sustain brand loyalty for a brand for all the days in the year. I just need to make sure I can sustain and maintain interest in the brand during the key retail occasions. And there's quite a few key retail occasions. In China, there's this habit, which I really don't like. Even if there's a one-day holiday in the week, the government will turn it into a 3-day holiday. Do you know how they do it? They insist they work on Saturday and Sunday of that week. So you have a fake long weekend, which they feel will spur domestic consumption in terms of people taking breaks and shopping. So your whole idea may be how you can leverage on all this artificially made long weekends. So sustain the interest there and use Weibo to build up brand awareness in terms of branded content during the lull period. That would be my best advice.
I want to add one thing that besides Weibo, I also noticed that for WeChat, actually some brands are using that very well as just like a CRM tool. So that's also because it's more personal, and also I think it's not at the stage like Weibo, a lot of 僵尸粉, like zombie kind of followers, but they are more real, and also I feel like it's more from my network. So if you utilize that tool better, that can be, at least at this stage, still an efficient way.
Okay. Yep.
Add one small point. In any case, after you got your first engagement with your customers or they become your customers, a real CRM strategy is necessary. Whether it's a social CRM strategy or you simply, because of your e-commerce site, you got the contact through email or SMS, your contact strategy, post-purchase strategy is important for you to really have targeted engagement. Because before they became your customer, you broadly know who they are, and now they became your customers, you have a lot more information about that, and you have to leverage those information.
Thanks, Charles. I'll take that as your last word. I'd like to give everyone one last word and before we have a wrap up. So Charles just said CRM and post-sale CRM is very important. Please, Wanli, would you like to say 25 words or less? You'd like to pass a message to the audience? We call it the last word. So if you have one message, just one short message you'd like to share with everyone.
Just keep testing and trying.
Keep testing and trying. Okay, great. Colin, would you like to?
Not wildly different, but know your customers. Get to understand the Chinese market and how people operate within it.
So understand your customers.
Take a huge platform so as to speed up your success.
So did everyone get that? So really, don't be afraid to make videos. The Chinese love watching videos. They spend a lot of time watching them. Please.
I think there is one point we didn't really discuss today. It's about crew you use to tap into China. So that's also very important part of the picture. So the people you use and also the team you have to tap into China, that's the key actually to everything. So as long as you have a good team on the ground and you have the good crew to work with you, so that will make things much different.
So use local knowledge.
To sustain brand preference, an easy way is to tailor a China-specific corporate social responsibility program that your brand can own and that will help the Chinese fall in love with your brand.
Okay, well that was the last word. I'd like to think that we had today was a success. I hope everyone here really enjoyed. We learned a lot today. Personally, would like to thank all the speakers for going to such effort. We learned from Mark this morning that the first speaker off the bat that the Chinese consumer is like no other. That certainly can be underlined by everyone here. We learned from Ava the power of the people in communication, and it is very much government versus people sometimes when it comes to social media. Also, don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. That's actually been mentioned several times but today. Just because you think you know your brand, you really do need to reinvent it. Calvin spoke a lot about using Weibo and CRM. how you can actually get very live, instant, within minutes feedback onto the success or failure of your campaigns, and also the importance of keeping on top of it. Kestrel stressed the point of stop looking through Western eyes, and I have to say, in my experience, I experience this a lot. I mean, I deal with international clients as part of my company. One of the main things I have to do, stress, is trying to encourage them to stop looking through Western eyes. It's very hard to do. It takes a long time to unlearn what your brand's been represented. The second point Kestrel made, I've jotted down, was expect brands. The customers expect you to be expressive. Don't just put up a page and put out a PR release and expect nothing, and then sit back and wait for the orders. You still have to keep going. You still have to express yourself. Kestrel also stressed the 4 Cs: content, culture, commerce, and co-creation. In other words, getting your local players engaged as well. And also the importance of O2O, online to on-site. So making sure if you've got that online engagement, it has to transfer, it has to be mirrored into your retail point of sale. That's if you have a retail point of sale. Alan spoke about the great importance of search engines. Search engines are very, very important for your business. It's a often quoted number, but it's true. 95% of Chinese will check your brand and product online. Now, if they even spell your brand name correctly, which is often a lot of people forget about that, and you still can't come up and your brand's not there, then you're history. You're dead. You're out of the game. So search is incredibly, incredibly important. Protecting your name, your brand name, is just as important. You can come to SEO and SEM companies to make sure that no one else is cyber squatting on your name. Or more importantly, buying your brand name. So, which is quite actually, it was legal and then it wasn't, and now it's back on the table. You are allowed to do that. So Coke actually now is allowed to buy Pepsi again as a keyword. So it's game on in China. There's no rules. Leo talked about how to leverage video. So start making video. They love watching video. Also, to build a brand bond, to really use video to get the audience engaged and learning more about your brand. Also, the importance of the best times of day to engage in your brand. Wan Li spoke about the importance of data, and actually, of course, the historical context of quality of data and authenticity of data coming out of China has historically not been the best, but I have to say it is getting a lot better. And certainly, even in the last 10 years that I've been doing business with China, the data that you can get from companies and researchers such as Wan Li is actually pretty spot on these days. Lastly, we heard, oh sorry, not lastly, sorry. Charles spoke about the importance of e-commerce. Also, the other important thing is there are multiple points of sale online. You've just got to choose one and go for it. As I said, there is pretty much a sliding scale. The cheaper product you're selling, then the more likely you are to use Taobao. The more expensive product you're selling, the more likely you are to put it on your own .com. So, and there is a number of platforms in between. Colin spoke about the need for the 3 R's: repackage, repossession, and reinvent. And that's pretty much the wrap of today. I'd just like to, just in closing note, I was sitting in my office in Australia, in Melbourne, and I got a LinkedIn request from this guy. I didn't really know him. His name was Roger Yu. It was about a year ago. And he says, Robbie, I'm interested in organising a digital marketing conference. And I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. I thought, why, my gosh, here we are trying to SEO. No one's listening. No one knows what the hell we're talking about. Everyone says, buy, do what? And here comes a guy who's actually put his hand up, and not only that, put his hand into his pocket to actually stick his neck out and organise a China digital marketing conference. He's been putting a year into this planning, and he's really, I have to take my hat off to Roger, and I'd just like to say, everyone in this room, thank you very much from everyone in this room for doing what you've done. And we'd all be appreciated if you send us invitations for next year, and I hope you do it again. Just to see, I mean, I've been selling China SEO and China SEM services for a few years now. It is really, I can see the winds of change happening in the Australian market. This is a symptom of it, the fact that we're standing here today, the fact that there's two other China digital conferences between now and Christmas time here in Australia, really shows that the Australian market's starting to wake up. So that's really good news for everyone. So thanks very much. Please give Roger a round of applause for organising today. Well done, Roger, and thanks very much.